Following episode of Thoughts from Crystal Street contains spoilers. Continue at your own risk.
Hi, I'm Graham.
And I'm Tannen.
We are Crystal Street Comics, and welcome to Thoughts from Crystal Street, where today I look like shit.
And I never do.
He never does. Fucking bastard. All right, so one topic, but it's one topic that has two parts, and I think we'll probably both ramble when we get to our parts, so it could go longer today than is maybe necessary, but so I'm going to start off. I probably started this with the spoiler alert warning, but if for some reason you're still here, spoiler alerts. We are going to talk the mid-season finale of Arrow. We're not going to talk about Flash because Flash's was fine. But Arrow, me and Tannen took issue to two of the things on it. We both don't really like either one of them, but we both find one of the two more offensive than the other. So if you're still here after I said all of that, and you still don't want to get spoiled, you're in the wrong place. So
yeah. All right. Let's see. Yeah. I'm gonna preface this with we both like Arrow so far. What they're doing with the show is they're doing a good job. I'm gonna start with mine since I'm talking. Yeah. The only problem I'm having right now is apparently Oliver Queen and the Green Arrow is not a good enough character because they keep stealing things from Batman. And really, I was like, originally, I think we mentioned this before, Ra's al Ghul is not a Arrow villain. Deathstroke, not really an Arrow villain. And now they have Ra's al Ghul trying to get Oliver Queen to take his place, which is actually a fairly big Batman arc with Ra's al Ghul. That's Ra's al Ghul. What he wants for Bruce Wayne.
I mean, that was the whole plot of Batman Begins.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's really the thing that bugs me is it looks cool. I mean, Ra's al Ghul's character in the show, they're doing him justice. It's just shouldn't be in the show at all. I mean, he's so then having Oliver Queen getting kind of garnered for the role of the new Ra's al Ghul just doesn't make any sense.
No, and I didn't have problems with them bringing in Ra's, just like I haven't had problems with them bringing in any of the Batman villains that I have to this point. That's fine. It's one universe in theory, so the Batman villains are out there. That's fine that they're on Arrow, but to do this story that is, I mean, just direct a Batman story. There's been other times where I went, that's kind of Batman. That's a lot of Batman. This is the first time. That's fucking Batman. Yeah. That's a Batman story. Why are you doing a Batman story on Arrow?
Right. And it's like, I actually really appreciated the first season when you got the League of Assassins, and they actually had Nyssa Ratko, not Talia al Ghul. And that's a very underutilized character, even in the comic books. Talia's half-sister it's barely a character. So I actually really appreciated that Nyssa was the, kind of at the time, the face of the League of Assassins. And at that time, I would have been fine if Ra's al Ghul never showed up. Yeah. It's like, the League exists in the DC universe. Let's bring them in and let's have them interact with Oliver. And then when they brought in how they brought in Ra's al Ghul, just owning Oliver Queen, I thought that was fine.
Yeah.
It's just
It's this plot. It is this plot. Up until this point, I've been okay with Ra's being there, but this direct Batman, you're going to take over the League of Assassins story. It bugs me. Now, I do know in the comic books, Ra's has sought other people to lead the League other than Bruce Wayne. And so you can say that Oliver Queen is one of these failed attempts, but it's just a stretch. This really feels like reaching for story.
Yeah, and the downside is like some of the few other characters that Ra's has tried to get to head up the League. Bane was one of them.
Yeah.
And most of them are other characters, generally Batman's villains.
Yeah.
But they're just going off of here's another billionaire playboy with toys. That's
Well, I mean, not so much because Oliver is broke right now, which I like. They don't have the billionaire playboy, which I was actually doing some reading, and I like that they've gone with that story arc because they did that in the comics where he was so much like Batman at one point they just took away his money, and that's when he became the everyman hero. And so I'm okay with this everyman hero Oliver, and I even get the point. You know, he was on the island and off the island or whatever. He survived for 5 years, so that would be appealing to Ra's al Ghul from the survival standpoint. It just is a weird choice because it is such a Batman story, and the fact that, I mean, again, it was the plot of Batman Begins. I mean, it's not like you could even say the casual comic book fan wouldn't know this story, because even casual people have seen Batman Begins. They know this story. So to do it with Arrow and with Oliver just feels really weird.
Yeah, I mean it feels like how I started and how we've mentioned is just Green Arrow doesn't have a good enough rogues gallery that you can have an entire show. He's gonna only have to take on the criminal element of Starling City. I mean, you're never gonna get the Deathstrokes. You're never gonna get the good villains because he doesn't have any. No. Cupid was in one episode, and that's barely a villain. Yeah. So it's like I cannot kind of understand what they're doing. I'm just, as a Batman fan, a little pissed off that they're stealing Batman, and especially because he doesn't have his own show. So
well, there's the young kid, but he doesn't really count.
Still don't count
it. As well you should. It's barely. I mean, it's a good show. I like Gotham, but it's not a Batman show.
Yeah,
it's becoming a Batman show. It's taking its sweet ass time. It could, you know, become a good Batman show if they tried. Okay, so the thing that bugged me, I have been really stoked with Brandon Routh as Palmer, and who would eventually become the Atom. And, you know, I've seen them building the suit, and they've been building to it, and it's red and blue. It's techie looking, but it's still, it looks like Atom. The one thing when we had mentioned when they revealed his costume, the clear glass on the face in the episode, you clearly see that the visor had been darkened, like we had thought was going to happen. I was really stoked. And then he flew like Iron Man.
Jets and everything.
And I don't get that. That's not the Atom. Now, what I am hoping is going to come of this, at this point, this is the only thing I can think, is that Palmer is going to try to be a superhero. The suit is going to suck, or he's going to do something wrong with the suit, and then he's going to go back to the drawing board, and then he'll make the actual Atom powers. Maybe. But they've built this up to be Atom. The suit is ATOM. It is Atom.
Yeah.
And he doesn't fly with fucking jetpacks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, this is the point that he is considerably more upset over than I am. I'm just, yeah, no, it's a cop out. It's Marvel's doing so well with Iron Man, so we might as well have something like that in our show. It's like,
and my thing is this: one, if you go with Atom's power, you have a chance to one-up Marvel. Because you are beating Ant-Man to screen.
That's
so you've got a chance to say, look, here's shrinking powers, and they can be cool. Before Ant-Man does it in theaters, which the trailer looked really cool. So you had the chance to up Marvel there, and if you're going to do this Iron Man ripoff, there's a character, and it would be tough to bring into Arrow, because you'd have to give him almost an entirely new origin, but Steel. Yeah. Steel is DC's Iron Man.
Yeah.
That he has he's Iron Man. Fucking Iron Man, but he has a big Superman S on his chest. That I think would have been the more logical choice if you're going to directly rip off Iron Man. Bring in Steel.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, it's like I do really like how Brandon Routh is playing Palmer. It's okay. That's really it. It's like we both like the show. We both like everything. Everybody that's playing their characters are doing them well. Mm-hmm. And it was really this particular break, the spring. Yeah. I don't know, spring break. I don't know what this is called.
It's a 2-week hiatus. It's like we need a little time. You just took a winter break. What the fuck? Yeah. I mean, I felt like this with S.H.I.E.L.D. because last year S.H.I.E.L.D. took 2 episodes on, 3 weeks off, 2 on, 3 off. At least this year they took a big chunk off, but we had Agent Carter to fill the gap.
Yeah.
But this little break that WB is doing, or CW is doing, I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah, and the sad thing is like the whole show. It's like Brandon Routh going into it, fiddling with the suit and the chick.
Yeah,
her.
Why am I'm drawn? Felicity.
Yeah. keeping them from accessing the program and everything. And then everything with Arrow, even going back to the name where Ra's al Ghul lives.
Yeah.
Everything leading up to it was just the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, the last
of that show.
It perplexed me, and I think it is because Flash had a good ending.
Yeah.
Flash ended off with fucking Reverse Flash feeding the General to Gorilla Grodd, which was awesome.
Yeah, and I think the downside, I was like, the downside is that Green Arrow lives in the same universe that Batman does.
Yeah.
So to have two guys with no powers whatsoever, they're just ingenious when it comes to how they dole out their particular types of justice.
Right.
Batman came considerably earlier, so he took over so many good villains that now having some guy that cannot fight a Solomon Grundy, even though he's been in the show early, but it's like comic book Solomon Grundy and Arrow, that's not really a fight.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
And so since he has no powers, you have to write in characters that he can't actually have a chance with. Which I find funny because he's the more realistic of the two characters, Flash or Arrow. Arrow has such a much better rogues gallery.
Yeah.
Not a massive one, but a better one. Grodd's a good character, even though it's a ridiculous character.
Yeah.
But a good character. What they've done with Captain Cold is phenomenal. Reverse Flash, I don't see him lasting longer than the season as a...
Right.
Well, I don't see Wells.
Wells will not
Harrison
be as...
Wells.
And that's been one of the most enjoyable parts, especially since you've kind of been confirmed that Wells is the Reverse Flash. It's been great to watch, just because now you've got the enemy sitting right there at every point. And so, it's weird that the enemies on Flash are turning out to be better, even though... I like Count Vertigo. I like any episodes where either one of them. I like the first Count Vertigo, and I love the guy they got for the second.
Yeah.
Count
Okay.
Vertigo.
Well, all right. But right now, can you Count Vertigo, which is only again barely a Green Arrow villain.
Right.
Cupid is
a Green Arrow. But the rest of them no, because like my other favorite of the villains is a Batman villain, Talkman. The Clock King.
Yeah.
Who was done great. I love the Clock King, but that's a Batman villain. Firefly, that's a Batman villain.
Slade's been done.
Slade's everywhere.
Almost great, and that's why I was fine seeing him in Arrow because he started out Teen Titans. But he has been plaguing the entire DC universe since his inception. So.
Yeah, I'm okay with Slade being there, and I was okay with Deadshot being a villain early on before they put him in the Suicide Squad. I was okay with that. But it is a lot of... And I understand that Batman and Arrow are very similar characters, so you're going to get very similar stories, but at the same time, it's just like, don't steal direct Batman stories. If you're going to take a Batman villain, I'm fine with that. If Poison Ivy showed up on an episode of Arrow, I've got no issue with it. The villains are known to travel. They don't just stay in fucking Gotham. But don't do a Batman story with them. So that's why I was always fine with Ra's al Ghul. But once you do the whole, you're going to take over the League of Assassins, that's when I drew an issue.
Yeah. And it's like I come to this every time, well, mainly when I watch Fox superhero movies. But it's like Green Arrow's been around since the 60s.
Yeah, maybe, 60, maybe a little earlier, but he was popular. He was hitting his stride in the 60s.
So you got 50 years of comic book lore to draw from, and you go with Batman.
Yeah, and I understand the reason Batman is more popular. People will recognize this, but that's kind of the nice part you have with Arrow. Dive into the vaults, and find these stories that nobody's read before. But your Arrow, face it, CW, your fans are comic book fans. You don't see a lot of, Jacob, Edward, Divergent girls clamoring over the Arrow crowd or over Flash. It is comic book nerds love this shit.
Yeah.
Nerd girls love this shit. Do some Arrow stories and fucking blow people away. Pull out this obscure ass Arrow story. I mean, there's a lot of good Arrow stories they can do. In fact, one I was waiting for them to do, but I think they're going to let it go, was there was an addiction story with Arsenal, where Arsenal was discovered to be a drug addict, and I kind of thought they were going to lead into that with the Mirakuru. Right. I thought he was going to have withdrawals and kind of go into that whole story arc, and I thought, well, that's an Arrow story. That's cool. That'll be good to watch. And, maybe they'll come back to it, but it is something I think they got away from. So, again, we love the show. Don't understand this nitpicking we're doing here.
Because this is really what it is. I mean, the show's still good. It's just
This is some nitpicking, but it is nitpicking that really caught our eye, and so that's why we decided that was this week's episode topic. And on that note, we can end this week's episode.
That's all we got.
So once again, I'm Graham,
and I'm Tana,
and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.